everyone, and welcome to another vlog. As I was looking at the clips that I recorded, and there are a lot of clips, I realized that I needed to do a talk through. The first clips that I'm about to show you are from Treetop Trekking, which is something I've wanted to do for 2 years, but it just hasn't worked out. There are a bunch of treetop trekking locations in Ontario. We went to the Brampton location, which is located on Heart Lake, which is a conservation area, and it's quite beautiful, forested area. The Brampton location offers 5 courses. 2 of them are beginner courses, 2 are intermediate, and the last one is advanced. We ended up doing all 5 courses, and that took us about 2 hours, not including a brief orientation at the beginning. It wasn't that busy when we went. We only had to wait at several spots, but if you didn't have to wait and if you really tried to do everything very quickly, I think you could complete all 5 courses in about an hour and a half. They give you 3 hours to do as many of the courses as you want, and you can always go again as well. After the orientation, they send you to the first beginner course, which is called Chickadee. This is the easiest course. I was a little bit surprised by how free you were to go off on your own, but you are clipped in. That first game on the first course, because I was still getting used to it, I felt very awkward, and I had a moment of regret, as in, what did I get us into? Why did I want to do this? But after that first game, the subsequent games are very similar in terms of the things that you need to do, the muscles you need to rely on. So it got easier from there, and I got the hang of it. There are a lot of different games on the courses, and I'd say the games fall into 4 different categories. The first category is the most fun, and that is the zip line. These are mini zip lines that are included on each course. Some are at the beginning, some are at the end, and there's one on the advanced course that is really long. That's the longest zip line that's included in your ticket. They do have a longer zip line that goes across the lake, but that's a $15 supplement, and unfortunately we didn't have time to do that because we had plans after Treetop Trekking. Hubby and I both loved the zip lines, and it's interesting because in the past I've been okay about zip lines. They're fun, but I don't find anything too exciting about them. Maybe it's because I haven't done one in a while, maybe it's because I'm a little older, or maybe it's just because they were such a nice break from having to use my muscles. I loved the zip lines on this course. They were just so much fun. The other category involves walking across something that's relatively stable. So these are typically cables that are pulled taut, or logs that are connected together. So it's pretty stable. All you really need to do is use your core strength and a little bit of upper body strength to kind of make your way across. These are pretty easy. You can do them slowly, but you can also go a little faster if you want. A lot of the games on these courses fell into this category. The third type of game, I think, was way more difficult, and those are the wobbly ones. These are logs that may be parallel to each other, or maybe they're at a diagonal, but they are not connected together, so there's no stability. They will swing and move and shake, and you have to make your way across, basically using a lot of upper body strength so that you don't fall. There's also some groin action if you're swinging around and the logs separate, so there's that risk. Go slowly. Just wait for the logs to stabilize before you continue to move across. This category of game, though, was much more physically exhausting. It required a lot more physical effort. The fourth type of game is what I would consider the other category. There's a whole bunch of different things that don't fall into the previous 3 categories. So one thing that repeated quite a bit were nets. So most of the nets had a bottom, so you could just walk across. It actually felt like you were getting a hug as you walked across. The advanced course, though, towards the end, had a cargo net with the bottom that was cut out. So this was much more difficult because you actually had to climb and make your way across the net, pulling your body up as you walked across the net. The net also wobbles a little bit, so you can exhaust yourself pretty quickly. And by then, you had probably gone through all of the other courses, all of the other games on the advanced course. So you're near the end, you're a bit fatigued, but you've got this net to get across. So that was the most physically exhausting game for me. That was Treetop Trekking in a nutshell. It was a lot of fun. For dinner, we went to Congee Queen and the food was awesome. Everything was delicious. It was really nice to see my in-laws. I was very, very thirsty, so I got a lychee slush. Overall, we had a really nice day. Hubby and I are spending the day at the spa. We are going to Go Place in Markham. Our friends are actually going to be here as well, but our schedules are very different, so I think they're coming a few hours later, but we're going to head in and get started on our relaxing day. We've got lots of stuff to do, like books to read, naps. I'm gonna write morning pages and work on my book. Hubby wants to work out. Lots of things. I thought I would do a quick talk through of Go Place, which, as you can tell by the footage, is a huge spa and very, very clean. Because hubby and I got there early at around 7:30-ish, there weren't many people around and we had a lot of the amenities to ourselves. There are a bunch of different hot rooms as well as one cold room, which is about 6 or 7 degrees, and it was just lovely after doing so many different hot treatments, as well as the jacuzzi, which I wasn't permitted to film in, of course. You really can stay here all day. They have tons of different loungers and such. They can give you blankets upon request, and there's also a huge seating area with couches and the like if you just want to lounge or work or write morning pages, as I'm doing. There was a gym with a billiards table. There was just like everything you could hope for, and food as well. So we ended up eating there twice. I got udon both times and hubby got udon and a plate of sushi. So all in all, we had a wonderful time. I would definitely go back. Hubby loved it as well. Maybe we'll try to go a couple of times a year, but this was just a very lovely and relaxing day. Hubby and I are heading to our friend's place to pick up Lulu. She's been at a 2-night slumber party while we went treetop trekking and stayed in Brampton for a bit, and then at the spa for 12 hours yesterday. So we're picking her up now, and I'm sure she's going to be exhausted after Prince Edward County as well. We are at Harbourfront. We're going to check out Smorgasburg again. This is that food festival that runs every Saturday in the summer. We went a couple of times last year, but this is our first visit this year, and we have a mini list of places we want to check out. It's very different from last year. Last year at around this time, 11 a.m., it was so busy, and this year, hardly anyone here. I think because it was trending on TikTok and whatnot, but this year I could hardly find any articles on it, so I think it's just like much more under the radar. We just bought something from this Indonesian food stall. The food from the Indonesian place is really good. It's basically a big beef rib, some spicy noodles, some shrimp crackers, and some pickles. Everything's delicious. We are about to try this very delicious looking coconut cake thing. It looks really good.
It's weird. What a genius thing to make. I thought it was like bread before. I thought it was like a toast or something.
Oh, that's really good. How much was it?
$10.
Oh, jeez. It's delicious though. Here are the flavors we chose: the ube latte and the calamansi, which is a Filipino lime. Yum yum. Our microwave went kaput a few days ago, and we're gonna try to go without. This is the second one that we've gone through. We have one of those over the range microwaves. I don't think those are great, and they're probably not even standard in condos anymore, because all the steam from the cooking, even if I turn on the fan, it gets into the crevices of the microwave, and it probably shorted something. So when the buttons stopped working, we decided just to unplug it. Microwaves are relatively inexpensive, but this one was just such a pain to install. It's really, really heavy. It's not like a countertop microwave at all. It's like huge. And hubby had to lift it over the top of his head. So yeah, it was very stressful. It took us a really long time. I may have vlogged that day actually. Now that we're trying to go without, I'm actually noticing some interesting differences. So the first thing I noticed is that my steamed buns are so much better because I'm actually steaming them, defrosting them or like reheating them in the microwave. I mean, they were still tasty then, but steaming them, they're just so soft and fluffy. They puff up a lot more and they're just fantastic. It does take, of course, more time. I think it's worth it in terms of the taste. The other thing is I made some kimchi fried rice for dinner, and I won't be able to reheat the fried rice in the microwave, so I'll need to refry it, but I think it'll taste even better refried. I'm not gonna have that today. I think I'm gonna save that for tomorrow, but today I am finishing the shrimp that I made. I made some pan-fried shrimp, and rather than reheating them, what I'm doing is I'm having them with cheese and crackers. So I'm just having a little like regular saltine type cracker, and then I have some like Gouda cheese that comes in the block. So I'm just making a little open faced cracker thing with the cheese and the cold shrimp straight from the fridge on top. It's delicious. If you like those cocktail shrimp, you might enjoy this. I do like shove this entire thing in my mouth, so I won't do it right now, but I've had 2 or 3 already, and it's just so good. I decided to put some basil on top from the Arrow Garden. I'm gonna cover my mouth. That is really good, and it's really hitting the spot. I didn't really feel like hot food because it's so hot outside. The basil is awesome with this. It is the next day and I am having my kimchi fried rice. I already broke up my fried egg and mashed it all into the rice. I did reheat the fried rice in a pan, and then I just used the same pan to make the egg. Of course, it took a little longer than microwaving the rice and just making the egg. I think it's gonna taste better because it sounded and smelled really good when it was in the pan. I am quite hungry. I just had a hard-boiled egg as well. The reason I wanted to save this lunch for today is because I wanted to have something more filling, because I am going to go for my tattoo cover-up appointment. It's at 2 o'clock and I am so excited. Actually, I was gonna take a bite, so let me do that. Really good. I have had this tattoo here since I was 16 years old. It's something that I used to always doodle, and I went with my friend to get her tattoo retouched. So when she was done, he asked if I wanted anything, and so I just came up with the thing that I doodled on the spot. I wasn't planning to get anything. He said he could do my little design for $50, so I just said, okay, we'll put it here. I think I started regretting it maybe when I was between 18 and 20 years old, possibly a little later. I had it for a good few years without really thinking much about it. I never really loved it, but I didn't really regret it until a few years later. So I've been wanting to get it covered up for many years now. When my friend and I were in Barcelona, we were lying on the beach and I was talking about wanting to get it covered up, and I actually had her trace my tattoo right there on the beach so I could play around with some designs. I didn't come up with anything, and then a year or two before I quit my full-time job, I went for a consultation with a really talented tattoo artist. I had an idea for what I wanted and I was happy to have him draw out the design, but he had a 1-year wait list, and the way the process works for him, because I guess he's got lots of clients, he will do the design, and then in a year when you go see it, you have to take the design pretty much as is. And that for me was too long of a wait, and I was also a bit hesitant about whether I would want to take the design as is. I'm just gonna go with a simple floral design because I've gone through so many iterations of like wanting to get something that has meaning and wanting to design something myself or wanting to have an artist design something for me, and I'm done. I just want the cover up. It is the next day and I did get my tattoo. I was worried a little bit because I got a bunch of messages at around noon when I was getting ready to go. My tattoo artist was delayed. Something came up and she wasn't sure she was going to be able to make it on time. So we delayed the appointment from 2 to 3:30. and then it became 4. I didn't get the message until I was already on my way to the tattoo shop that it would be 4:30. So I got to the tattoo place at 4 o'clock, and I just sat there and I was on my phone and I waited, and then 4:30 rolled around and my tattoo artist wasn't there. So I started to think, oh my goodness, every time I try to get this cover up, something happens and it just doesn't happen. So part of me was thinking, is this going to happen again? But I love this artist's work so much. I was just like, just trust that it'll happen. And then she showed up. She showed up at like 4:45-ish, and she was so nice, and I love my tattoo so much. She did such a good job. I do have that second skin stuff on it right now, and it is oozing a little bit, so I don't know if this is going to gross anyone out. It's oozing a bit of like more ink than blood. She said my skin actually didn't bleed much at all during the entire process. It didn't swell up and it didn't get that red. And so she said because of that, she was able to work a little bit faster. And she did work very quickly. So this is what it looks like. That's just a part of it. I'll also put in the image of the stencil that she put on top of my existing tattoo, so you can see where my old tattoo is. It became a leaf. She did such a good job with the after. You can't even tell that there was an old tattoo there. I'm so happy with it. I was debating between 2 color schemes. The green leaves would definitely have to be there because that is where the cover up was taking place, because my old tattoo, it's faded a lot because it's 30 years old, but it's still quite dark. So I was debating between having the peonies be like a bright pink, almost like purple leaning. And then I also found an image later after I had booked the appointment of these like peachy pink peonies, and I just fell in love with that color. I love that color so much. I asked her about the color, and I think she didn't really want to like sway me in either direction, which is good. She did say she prefers like the peachy pink color scheme a little bit more. I thought it would look better with my skin tone, so I'm so happy I went with that change. I think the pink would have been really nice as well, but I'm just in love with the colors, and I know when it fades I'm gonna still love it. So I'm very happy. She is such an amazing artist. Of course, I didn't see how she was drawing because I was lying face down the whole time, but my neck started hurting. I had to turn it a bit, and then I could see her like dipping the tattoo pen. I don't know what these things are called, but she was dipping them into the ink. So I saw like all of the different colors and how she was using the colors and like just blending them into my skin. And I had no idea how it would look. Just by watching her, I was like, oh, that looks like a bright red. And then she also had like a light peach, and then she had like all these other colors. I had no idea how it would look. And when she took the photo and showed me, I was like, oh my God, it looks so good. The way she does the shading, and as you saw from the stencil, there wasn't that much detail there. So I was so thrilled, like super happy. It was definitely worth the wait. I'm glad I didn't get my tattoo sooner because I feel like this was the artist. This was the piece of art that I wanted. I feel like a new person. This tattoo is so old and I've hated it for so long. And now I just feel like I feel good. I feel like fresh, and I feel like this was a big thing to tick off the list. It's something I've wanted to do for a very long time, and I'm so glad I did it. I was there at 4, but we didn't actually start until around 5 o'clock. It took about half an hour to get set up, just like consulting on the image, looking at my tattoo, measuring it, discussing the colors. She printed the stencil and put it on my back. It needed to dry for a little bit. So all of that took about half an hour, and she actually started tattooing at 5:30. And she tattooed the entire time. We didn't take a break, and she was done at 9. I was in essentially like a massage chair with the hole for my face, and then she put a regular kind of like sitting chair in front so I could actually put my phone on it and see it through the hole, and I could reach it as well. It was a little bit of a reach, and of course I didn't want to move too much, but overall it was like very comfortable. I just did crosswords pretty much the entire time. And when my neck started hurting, I would just like turn my head the other way towards her and I would just like close my eyes. But I did get quite a deep line in my forehead, and you can actually still see it even though it's been 12 hours and I've like gone to bed. It's actually been longer than 12 hours. A pretty deep indentation and a red mark in my head. So I wish I had brought a baseball cap to wear home, but of course I didn't realize. In terms of how it felt, I would say it is more painful than I remember. I have 2 tattoos, but they're really small. This is quite a bigger piece. It was about 5 inches, I think, in total. When she was shading, especially, and I think when she was using maybe like a thicker needle, it did feel quite painful. The thinner needle and just like the straight lines, that was actually fine. It just felt like a little bit of a tickle, but some parts were quite painful, and I don't remember feeling that way with tattoos before because, again, my tattoos are so small and more simple, not so much shading where she like colors all of the skin. But now the tattoo feels fine. It's a little bit tender, but it doesn't hurt. So we'll see how it goes when I have my shower tonight. I have to change my second skin. Otherwise, I probably would just forego the shower. But she did tell me shower, change the second skin, and the piece of second skin that I'm going to put on tonight after my shower is going to stay on for 7 to 10 days. She did give me a backup, but she said it should be fine. It's waterproof, so as long as I don't sweat too much, which is very difficult because it's very hot out, but I think there won't be as much oozing by then. I don't think it'll leak as it did today. So my tattoo was leaking a bit today. I didn't realize the second skin had like a little gap in it, and I was oozing a little bit of that stuff that yeah, it sounds really gross. I'm gonna stop talking about that now. But suffice it to say, I really loved my tattoo artist, Janice. I will link her down below. And I also love my tattoo. I was thinking when I was in the chair, when I was cursing my 16-year-old self for getting that tattoo, I was also thinking, I'm not going to do this again. This is going to be my last tattoo. But now that it's done and now that I love it so much and it's so beautiful, I'm like, what else could I get? I don't think I'm going to get anything else this year, at least like not this season. We'll see. Maybe down the road I'll get a picture of Truffle with some flowers around him. I would definitely go back to Janice, and I'm sure she would do an amazing job. I think that is going to be it for this vlog. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're all doing great and enjoying the summer. I will be back maybe not like super very soon with another vlog because I'm getting the book ready and I'm hoping to launch it on September 23rd. But I always have vlogging on my mind, and once the book is released, I think I'll have a lot more time and like mental energy to vlog lots more. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.